Hello, this is my brother-in-law Curtis White, and he lives in Canada. And if you remember a little while back, I requested prayer for him because he was in a horrible accident. And I've asked him to come here and to leave his testimony with our congregation with you fine folks.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, take your liberty.
Well, guess I'm Curtis White, aka the Miracle Man, because of what happened to me back in December of a year ago. It was a very horrific accident that, without the prayers of this church and many other churches, I wouldn't be standing here and I wouldn't be alive. So definitely 1000% a miracle that you can't write off as luck. And anytime anybody says that you were lucky, I correct them quickly that this wasn't luck, it was a miracle. So to explain what happened, I work in the woods and lumber business, and I have a couple skidders that I yard wood with, and my worker that helps me, his name's Donald. He was wanting me to fix his pickup, and he had sprung a gas leak underneath the truck, of course, and I had called my mechanic to ask him if he could fix it, and his hoist was busy, so he had a vehicle on it, so he asked me if I could wait a couple of days, and I said, no, it's leaking pretty bad. So I told Donald that I would probably be able to fix it myself, but I would have to lift the truck up in the air to get under it and do what I need to do. So with a Mindy Lemmer, which is a big machine that's got a long boom, I was able to tie a chain around the arms of the Lemmer and hook it to the truck and pick the truck up so I could see what was going on. So I proceeded to set on the ground, and my worker was under there with me, and I sent him out for a screwdriver, and I didn't realize the arms were backing off because of a hydraulic leak that was allowing the chain to slip down through these knives. And in the blink of an eye, just when he was getting the screwdriver for me, the pickup come down. And you've got to understand this pickup weighs 6,000 pounds with a tank of fuel in the back, which probably made it 7,000 pounds, which wouldn't make any difference because if it weighed 500 pounds, it would kill me. And I had to be positioned in exactly the right spot for that pickup to come down and not like literally obliterate me and flatten me to the ground. So I'm sitting on a hard frozen ground, and when it came down, my head was tilted up looking at the gas leak. And other than the fact that God, had me looking that way, I couldn't have been any better position to escape death. There's no way. So when it came down to flail my chest, it broke 5 ribs on my left side, punctured my lung, and proceeded to break my pelvis in 3 places, which, in turn was most agonizing pain I've ever experienced in my life. And I knew I was dying. There was no doubt in my mind that I couldn't breathe, could hardly talk, and my worker Donald was trying to jack the truck up off me, and I told him, don't. I said, just get me from underneath here. I was getting claustrophobic by, just sitting there. And so as I leaned back, he pulled on my ankles and pulled me out. And if you can imagine, I didn't know my pelvis was broke. I mean, I was in extreme pain all over. And when he got me out, he he leaned me up against the truck, and I said, Donald, I said, you've got to pray for me, I'm not gonna make it. And I was sure I was dying. And I guess to cut the story a little bit short, I had him call 911, and this is a 90-acre lot. This was the only place on that lot that I could get out with a cell phone. Only place. There wasn't anywhere else in that lot. I had to come to that exact spot whenever I needed to make a call. So that was a little bit of a miracle that I was in that exact spot. And then he had never used a cell phone like these Androids, and he didn't have a clue how to operate them. I was useless because I could hardly move. So I just told him my phone was in my pocket to get it out and try and call 911. Somehow he was able to unlock my phone, dial 911, because you got to find your call button, and it was probably 10 minutes on the phone talking to them, explaining to them what happened, where I was, how to get to me. I'm way back up in the woods across a long field that we had to plow for snow to get up in there. So I knew the animals couldn't make it up in there. And he was trying to explain that to the 911 operator, and I told him, I said, Donald, give me the phone, I need to talk to my wife, I'm gonna die before, they get here. So they wouldn't hang up, and I finally talked him into letting me have the phone, and then I had to hang up from 911 and dial my wife, which to this day I feel that I kind of made the wrong decision because, she was very upset. But I thought I had to talk to her before I died, and I didn't want somebody relaying that message themselves. So anyway, she was very upset, and tried to call my family, my kids, and tell them what happened. That was a bad accident. So probably 45 minutes later, I could hear the ambulance, and I heard them stop, and they couldn't make it up in there, so they had to send the fire truck pickup to pick me up, and they tried to get me in the front seat of this truck, which in turn, my legs were completely useless. I couldn't walk. They dragged me over to it, and I said, just lay me in the back and get me down out of here. So they laid me in the back. I had to go down to the road. It was rough, and then get me out of that on a stretcher and get me in the ambulance, which in turn was another half hour to the hospital. And I was begging the guy to give me something to knock the pain. It was so extreme that I can't even describe the pain. That was, my whole body was just so much pain, and they can't do that. So he gave me something, but it never even helped a bit. So anyways, he got me to the hospital, and whatever they gave me knocked me out. And I never came to for a couple of days, but they told me later that because of the punctured lung, they had to give me quite a bit of blood, and they didn't think I was gonna make it. So thankfully, because of the prayers from you guys and not knowing the extent of my injuries, I was very, determined to live once I came to, and everybody told me how many people were praying. I mean, I was humbled beyond belief, beyond words, and then of course Tina, my niece, has been the rock, and all her prayers and support. I mean, I'll take that to my grave. And John and Susan, people that supported me, it just humbled me beyond belief. So I'm here without an ache or pain in my body that can only be, only be credited to God, and a miracle that, I'll have the rest of my life, a testimony the rest of my life. So, any unbelievers that think that I was lucky can forget it, because I'm here because of Him, and a miracle that I am so thankful for, the prayers that got me here and kept me here. So that's my testimony, and I'd like to meet you guys someday, maybe in person, but as of now, this is the rest of